God delivered me from depression. In my case, literally a year later, I started to feel depressed. And again, it was a scary thing. I mean, after you've gone through deep depression and you start feeling depression, I thought, not again. And this time, my depression lasted for 12 months. And the issue that I was wrestling with was, if I was really committed to Christ, I wouldn't be depressed because of what He had done for me. I shouldn't be depressed. And I was so fearful of sharing with anybody how I was feeling. But I picked out one of my roommates, and I also picked out my brother, who's not a Christian. And here for years I've been sharing with him about how to know Christ, and here I'm depressed. And so that wasn't the most comfortable conversation to initiate, but in both cases, what they communicated to me was acceptance in what they said. And that was the beginning of opening a door in my life that was so necessary that, gee, I can share with people that I feel depressed and still be accepted. That was like revolutionary. And then I was always looking for a spiritual answer to every depression time in particular, but really any problem. It's always got to be, like it had been for me, a verse of Scripture or a thought of Scripture. That's what had delivered me in the past, and so that's what I was looking for again. And God, help speak to me as I'm struggling with, if I was just committed enough, then I wouldn't be depressed. He said in the book of Romans, we're commanded to consider ourselves dead to sin, again, in light of what Christ has done. And I realized I was depending on my actions and my emotions as a basis for being acceptable to God. And when you're depressed, your feelings aren't cutting it and your actions aren't cutting it. And He's telling me to consider myself dead to sin, and so knowing that it's not based on my feelings or my actions, whether I'm okay with God or not, but we're okay with God because of the blood of Christ. That very day, I was delivered from depression, that day, after 12 months. And so, after you've been depressed and suddenly you're filled with joy, life is good. When you're depressed, you feel like a zero, And suddenly, God is speaking to me and saying, I think you're wonderful. So to this day, that is, particularly when I maybe start feeling not wonderful, I think back to that. It's a foundational pillar. God, you think I'm wonderful. I tell you, that'll carry you through a lot of stuff in life. I felt accepted in a way I had never felt accepted before. And as I have just accepted what He's done for me, it's liberated me. And nothing, I can just remember conflicts with people or potential disappointments at work or whatever. Nothing bothered me. Life was good. It was such a contrast. It's been a milestone for me, and that's my story.